Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Now, if this is your first time watching, hello, I'm Ayman. Life sucks right now because of COVID, so I make entertaining content so you guys don't get bored to death. You're welcome. Now, I don't kink shame at all. I'm not here to judge what people do. One night stands were very common things back when we could actually be close enough to someone to hit on them. Alas, the days of yore. Anywho, today's episode took place in 1983, so forget the 6 feet rule. Two strangers met at a pool party, evidently got along and spent the night together. It wasn't even the next morning yet, and the two were already dead. This is episode 9 of True Crime Thursday, and today's case is the one night stand that ended in death. Let's get into the victims. It's honestly always a bad case if a single person dies, but sadly in this case there were two victims, Jerry Dean and Deborah Thornton. 27-year-old Jerry Lynn Dean was 5'5" and weighed less than 140 pounds. Now, I don't know as much about his early life as I do with Deborah, so we'll get into his adult life straight away. Now, Jerry met Sean Davidson and the two started dating, eventually moving in together and getting married in February of 1983. But Sean's biker gang friends hated Jerry's guts, especially her best friend Carla Faye Tucker, who was Sean's roommate when the couple first met. Now, 4 months after their wedding, the two broke up because Jerry had started hitting Sean and she was done with it. Sean moved back in with Carla, who saw her bruises and cut lip and was absolutely livid. To blow off steam from his breaking marriage, Jerry decided to attend this pool party. Now, on to Deborah. Deborah Thornton was born in Columbus, Ohio in 1951, and her life was, to put it lightly, rough. By the time she was 8, her dad had been arrested for being a gay pedophile, which also led to her parents' divorce. Her mum ended up remarrying but passed away before Deborah turned 12, so honestly, I really do pity her life. By the time she was 18, she had relocated to Texas where her biological dad William was living, and she got married and had a son. She started working in her dad's oil rig company, but within a few years, she noticed that just because he was out of jail didn't mean he had changed. He had started picking up homeless boys off the street and hiring them on the condition they paid him with sex. She threatened to call the police on him, but he threatened her life right back. So to hell with her dad, she got a new job as a bookkeeper and divorced her first husband. Now, looks-wise, she was blonde, tall, and beautiful, and at the age of 30, she married Richard Thornton, and like all marriages, it was not all rainbows and butterflies. They fought a lot, and on the 12th of June 1983, he kicked her out of their apartment and told her not to come back that night. Pissed and hurt, she grabbed some clothes and left, and noticed a pool party taking place in her complex and decided to go. And there is where Jerry met Deborah. Onto the case. Now, Jerry convinced Deborah that the best way to get back at her husband was to make him jealous by sleeping with him. How convenient for you, Jerry, that the solution ends up with you getting laid. Now, the two then went back to Jerry's house, slept together, and that was that. Jerry was scheduled for work at 8 a.m. the next morning and was meant to be picking up his colleague Gregory Travers on the way. Now, when he failed to show up, Gregory got worried and walked to Jerry's place to see if all was okay. When he got there, however, he came upon a bloody scene and ran home and frantically called the police to the apartment, and when they arrived, the place was a mess. Tools, dirty clothes, and motorbike parts were everywhere. Jerry was just sprawled half on the floor, half hanging on the mattress, and they found Deborah with a pickaxe in her chest. When police spoke to his neighbors, they reported that his apartment was a lot louder that night, but it seemed like nothing out of the ordinary. The police obviously had the murder weapon, but failed to find any fingerprints or clues at the crime scene. Not only had there been a double homicide, there had also been a robbery. The assailant or assailants had stolen Jerry's wallet, his motorbike, and his El Camino. Onto the suspects and the investigation. The autopsy results showed that both victims had each been stabbed at least 20 times. And as we know by now, the more brutal the murder, the more likely it is that the victim knew their killer. But what stumped police was the fact that Jerry and Deborah really were strangers. They had no mutual friends, absolutely no connection. meaning whoever killed them was most likely aiming for one of them and the other just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. What makes this case even more complicated is the fact that both victims had a lot of people in their lives that believed they'd be better off dead. First, investigators looked into Deborah. The first suspect police had in mind was Deborah's husband, since she had been found dead in another man's bed, and she had just had this huge argument with Richard, so I mean, the shoe fits. But Richard had a tight alibi that night since he was at home with the kids. The next suspect was obviously Deborah's criminal of a father. William was under investigation for tax evasion, and Deborah was called as a witness against him, which definitely gave him a motive to get rid of her. And the fact he's just, an all-around pedophile piece of shit. But police had found no hard evidence linking him to the murders, so he was let off the hook. Then the police obviously looked into Jerry's past and explored his marriage with Sean and her best friend Carla, who hated him. Now, when they found out about the feud and the fact that Carla had once punched Jerry so violently he'd ended up in the hospital, they called her into the station ASAP Rocky. Now, she acted very nonchalant about the whole thing, so the police let her go, but called her frequently and arranged surprise visits at her house and at her boyfriend's bar, hoping one of them would slip up. 5 weeks after the murders, Carla's boyfriend's brother Douglas Garrett called into the station claiming he had information about the pickaxe murders and that he knew who did it. He told them it was his brother Daniel and his girlfriend Carla, along with their friend James Librand. Now, there were various motives as to why Carla could have killed Jerry. She hated him for beating her best friend, she hated him for burning her only picture of her mother, and Jerry even once tried to hire a hitman to shoot Carla in the face with a flare gun to permanently dismember her. I mean, heck, even I would hate his guts. Now, apparently, a few hours after the trio had killed Jerry, they showed up at Douglas's house boasting about what they had done. They convinced Douglas to hide Jerry's motorbike and wallet in his house, but he got so anxious he got rid of them both. So what even happened on that fateful night? On the night of June 13th, Carla was on her third day of straight partying with her friends and had consumed a lot of drugs. I'm talking speed, weed, alcohol, and a bunch of other pills. But the higher Carla got, the more fixated she became on her hate for Jerry, so she suggested stealing his motorbike to her boyfriend Daniel. And I guess James was there like, fuck it, I have nothing else to do, don't want to ruin the party, I guess I'll just come along. Now, Carla gained entry into the apartment because she had found Sean's old keys to the place in her jeans after the couple had broken up and Sean had moved back in with Carla. Now, James went to look for the car while the couple entered the house. Carla went for Jerry first, and trying to protect himself, he put up a fight and was then hit multiple times in the back of the head with a ball-peen hammer by Daniel. He then went to help James put the stolen things in the car. Jerry, who was incapacitated at this point, was apparently making this gurgling sound, which was annoying Carla, so she picked up a pickaxe that was leaning against the wall and started axing Jerry down further. The boys kept going back and forth, and it was only 10 minutes later that Carla realized there was someone else terrified under the covers. It was Deborah Thornton. Now, Carla decided Deborah had seen too much and had to be offed as well. She then grabbed the pickaxe and started going at her. Now, during her trial later on, Carla claimed she had an orgasm every time she hit either of them with the pickaxe. Which is fucked. Anywho, on to the aftermath. Now, in September of the same year, Carla and Daniel were both indicted for the murders. In exchange for testifying at Daniel's trial, Deborah's charge was dropped for Carla, and Daniel wasn't charged with Deborah's murder either, since that was all Carla. She pleaded not guilty and apparently became a born-again Christian in jail like literally a month later. Now, both killers were given the death penalty, with Daniel dying from liver disease before he was executed. Carla, on the other hand, spent 14 years on death row, trying to appeal and have a retrial countless times, but to no avail. Even George W. Bush, who was governor at the time, refused her 11th hour appeal to block her execution, and so on the 3rd of February 1988, she was executed by lethal injection. And that is the end of the case, you guys. This was not an unsolved one, it was very much solved, and fuck Carla Faye Tucker. Like, I mean, I completely get her motive of why she wanted to kill Jerry, but why the fuck did she kill Deborah? I mean, I understand that she had seen too much, but I feel like if she had been like, oh, we will let you go free as long as you don't say anything, she would have been like, okay, okay, sure, and then probably changed her name and moved to Mexico, who knows? With an axe though, like how violent is that? And how savage is it that they just left the crime scene with the pickaxe embedded into Deborah's chest? Like, at least take it out. Anywho, let me know what you thought of this case in the comments below. I rarely ever hear of someone having a one-night stand and both the people ending up dead, so this was a very interesting case to me. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. As always, I am your favorite true crime junkie, Ayman, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!